Ok, perfecto, Gabriel.
Okay. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the WBC Talks. Stay home, stay safe. I hope you're at home enjoying these talks that we're having with a lot of experts in boxing. And this time, this is going to be the round number 3. This is going to be about referees, and it's going to be really interesting. I just want to say hi to everybody. I want to say hi. We have with us to Mauricio Sulaiman, the WBC president, Xochitl Lagarda, the WBC University director, Frank Garza. He has more than 34 years of working experience as ring official and more than 25 as training officer in amateur and professional boxing, 10 years as a training instructor of referees for the WBC. We have also Ed Colantes. Ed has 18 years as a referee. Since 2006, he's been a professional boxing referee, more than 270 fights, 4 of them at world title fights, and over 1,000 fights, including amateur. And he's been around the world, and he's been helping Hubert Min with the referee seminar for 4 years. Also, we have Christian Curiel from Tijuana. He's a lawyer, just in case you want to argue with him. He made his debut in 2012, and he has been in 285 fights, 6 of them world titles. And also we have Hubert Min here, that he's been with the WBC seminars, instructing everybody. He's been all around the world. He has all the experience. There's a lot of things that I can say about Hubert Min. Hello, everybody.
Aloha.
Right, aloha.
Hello,
Aloha.
Good to see you.
Hey, Hubert, when you cough, you gotta do it with your elbow like this.
I am. I'm storing it in my elbow.
First, I want to ask Mauricio to welcome, to say what are we doing here with the WBC Talks.
Thank you, Victor. Good morning, good afternoon. I'm Mauricio Sulaiman, president of the WBC. I'm very happy to be in connection with friends, with media, with fans from all over the world, to just have the opportunity to have some interaction through the WBC Talks. This is a daily platform in Spanish at 11 a.m. Mexico City time, in English at 1 p.m. Mexico City time. We have had doctors, we have had tape and wrapping yesterday, and today's the referee section. I would like to take a moment to recognize and say a quiet prayer for Derek Jefferson, a former heavyweight from Detroit, who is in the hospital in a ventilator going through this crisis. We lost Ron Ross, a former boxer from New York, a writer, a very important member of society, as well as Guido Cavalieri from Italy, lost his brother-in-law due to the coronavirus. This is not a game, and this is not something that we should take lightly. That's why we like to lead by example as an organization, and we all ask everyone to stay home. Let this play the time that is needed to go back to a normal life. Thank you very much. Let's hear from the referees, and let's have a great WBC talk today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mauricio. Now I want to invite Xochitl Lagarda. She's the WBC University Director, to tell us about what is all this WBC University.
Yes, thank you, Victor. Well, we've been working in this project and this platform since 2 years ago. We've been getting together. In the case of the ring official, we've been doing really hard work. I'm very glad to see here Hubert, Frank, Christian, Mauricio, everybody that's been working to put all the knowledge together in these guidelines from the WBC. For this activity, for the WBC talks, we are just putting the platform, getting the expert together and getting organized so we can stay home and stay safe during this health crisis that we have all over the world. We're going to have 10 rounds, as Mauricio said before. We already had 3 in Spanish, 3 in English, and the English version is going to be at 1 o'clock Mexico City time. Tomorrow we are going to have trainers. Yesterday we had rapping, and the first day we had a health panel. You can still watch all these in the social media from the WBC, and you can still, if you weren't online Monday, Tuesday, or today, or any other day, you can still watch all this live transmission online any day you want at any time. I'm very grateful for the Ring Officials Committee for all the work we've been done, and we're going to be here connecting every day with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Xochitl. Now, Mauricio, you and the WBC have been working in the Code of Ethics. Could you explain a little that?
Well, the Code of Ethics is a very important document that is the guidelines for the behavior of everyone involved in boxing. For ring officials, it is a document that has been in existence, and as a certified member of the WBC Ring Official Committee, you must abide by that Code of Ethics. You can find it in WBC website. It is published, and it is given to every ring official every year when they recertify, and it is basically the code of behavior. Of course, you expect it to be followed thoroughly in all aspects, and it is very entertaining. It has a lot of things that we all have to follow in the daily activity of our lives.
This is very important because a lot of people think that boxing is a dirty sport, and that comes from the 30s or the 40s in New York or some other places, but the WBC has been working on a lot of that.
Well, boxing has been the sport with the most changes in the history of any sports. We have reformed every single step, and the transparency of the sport is a priority, and the integrity and the honorability of the ring officials is always something that we have to pride for. Ring officials, referees, and judges, the referees understand that the lives of the boxers are in their hands. It's their performance that could lead to saving a life or to saving the integrity of a fighter and the years after. The judges have the justice in their hands. So it is something that is very important. The Ring Officials Committee is one of the most important aspects of the WBC. And I'm very proud of Hubert Bean, who is our chairman, Frank Garza, Christian Curiel, Ed Collantes, who are distinguished members of the boxing community. And I cannot wait to just get started with the boxing material.
Then let's get started. Frank, please tell us what the referee does before the fight.
Well, you know, there's a lot of things that we go through, but before I get started, I want to thank Mauricio and the WBC for putting this program together, and that the WBC has always been a leader, as Mauricio said, in making changes that we need in the sport. And his father was a great innovator that gave us many changes. And this program that we're doing today, live streaming, using the technology that we have today, is just a further innovation. And Mauricio, you're following in your father's footsteps. I'm very proud to be part of this program. You know, Victor, like any other thing that we do, we have to be prepared. And it's something that we have in all our lives. For instance, myself, you know, it started as being a Boy Scout. It went into being a safety patrol officer. It went into my job. It went to being a parent, and also into being a boxing official. that's our whole life, is being prepared. And when we have an incident like we do with this coronavirus, where we're literally shut down, for instance, myself, I'm locked down into my house under state law. So what do I do? People can say, well, now you can rest. No, this is the time where I'm really preparing myself for the future. And what I'm doing is I'm reviewing the rules. I'm keeping an open dialogue with my fellow boxing officials, either through social media, the phone, emails, and we're reviewing fight films. We're reviewing incidences that we had among ourselves. And if you go into the WBC guidebook, and I think I provided a slide, maybe we can look at it later on, of things that we do to prepare. I want to bring up an incident that happened to me, and I'd like to talk about it if we can show that little video that I sent in, if you have that available.
Do we have the video for Frank Garza? Ready?
Here we go.
That's Frank with Mike Tyson, huh?
Yeah. The video is not very good, so I'll just go ahead and talk over it. What happened on this particular incident is my mentor, the boxing referee that had trained me and was now retired. We took the time to talk about this, and he said, he came over to my house and he gave me a legal pad of paper, those big yellow pads and a pen. And he says, start writing down scenarios of things out of the ordinary that could happen to you in the ring. And I filled 2 pages. I had almost 100 scenarios written down. And in this particular fight, what happened here, right before the bell rang, there was a low blow from Mike Tyson to Andrew Golota, or actually it was from Andrew Golota to Mike Tyson, but it was an accidental low blow. And these individuals were really, really at each other. And I called it an accidental low blow, and I told Mike to go to his corner. It was an accident, and don't worry about it. Well, as I was picking up the scorecards, I heard the crowd roar, which we would have heard on the video. And out of the corner of my eye, I saw something moving in the ring, and I turned around, and it was Andrew Golota, had left his corner and was heading towards Mike Tyson's corner. Now, this was something that took me by surprise. I didn't know what, of all the scenarios I wrote down, this is one that I did not write down. So I ran to the center of the ring and I intercepted Andrew Golota, and I stopped him. And I said, go to your corner. And he says, I quit. And he had given no indication. This was the end of the second round. He was not hurt. There was no indication for anything that had happened. I don't know why he had said that. Well, his corner was just furious. I could see them. So I told Andrew Golota, you've got 1 minute, go back to your ring, go back to your corner. And I escorted him to his corner, and I told the corner, he's got till the bell rings. And I gave him that opportunity. The bell rang and he didn't want to continue. So I was left with no choice but to stop the fight. But by preparing myself, even with other scenarios, it didn't, even though it initially took me by surprise, I still had everything under control. And this is something about preparing yourself before the fight, along with your uniform, the rules, and everything like that.
Frank, I got a question.
Yes, sir.
Andrew Golota was in a big riot 4 years before the fight with Mike Tyson.
Correct.
Is a referee obligated to study the history of each fighter?
Yes, in this particular case, this was a very unique fight for the city of Detroit, in that Andrew Golota, who is from Poland. Many people do not know this, but Detroit has the 3rd largest Polish population in the world. So there was a huge, very huge Polish contingency, both from overseas and within the city of Detroit at this fight. And they were diehard Andrew Golota fans, but they also bared a lot of animosity of Andrew's past history of what happened in New York City and a couple other events. And of course, Mike Tyson was coming in from the history of what had happened in Las Vegas. And just to tell you a quick story of what happened at the weigh-in, a fight during a face-off, they started twitching, and I knew that one of them was going to throw a punch. And the state had demanded that I be on the platform for the weigh-in, and that I actually take part in conducting the weigh-in, as I had just previously been on the boxing commission, so I was familiar with the procedure. And as one pulled his arm back, I stepped in between them, and I said to Mike, and I had a program, and I handed it to him, and I says, "Hey, Mike, sign this for me." And Andrew looked at me and he says, "Why did you ask him first?" And I looked at Andrew and I says, "Because I'm going in alphabetic order." But that broke the tension. And Andrew says, "Oh, I'm sorry, I understand." And he stepped back. Well, that broke the tension. And I thought that I had alleviated the situation. But
So that means that Golota doesn't know the alphabet.
You should have gone first.
But what happened was there was a New York reporter right in the front, and he yelled out that Frank Garza should be removed from the fight because he got an autograph from the boxers. It didn't matter to him that I had alleviated the situation. Later that day, and Mauricio, you might like this. Later that day, I received a phone call from the Nevada State Athletic Commission, and they were asking me if this incident happened because that reporter had called the Nevada State Athletic Commission and wanted me removed from the fight. I told the chairperson at that time he had no business calling our state commission nor me and intervening into a situation that did not involve him or his commission. And that I further stated that unlike the Nevada State Athletic Commission that let my good friend Jose Suleiman get punched at a weigh-in just recently, we were not going to allow that in our state.
Please let me say hi to all the people that is watching us from the USA, France, Thailand, Mexico. We have a lot of names that we know, and Germany. Bill Clancy, Leon Cavecito, Kevin Noon, Marianne Laurie, Cesar Castañón. Hello, everybody. Thanks for watching us. And I have a question here. Nieves Colon, she's Pritchard's Colon mother. She wants us to talk about the Pritchard's Colon rule. Who wants to talk about that? Mauricio?
Well, we took that example with great concern, and we renamed the Pritchard Colon rule after that incident where Pritchard was injured during a fight. The WBC reviewed its protocols, and we have emphasized to all the referees to go into the dressing room before the fight and make clear that the fighters understand the dangers of the rabbit punches, the punches behind the head, and to make it clear that that instruction at the dressing room is the first warning. So if it happens in the ring, that would be the second warning. And the referees, the WBC wishes every single referee to understand that the rabbit punch, the punch behind the head, is extremely dangerous.
Perfect. Frank, we're taking a lot of time, and we have only 1 hour, I think. Could you shortly explain what a referee does before the fight? And I mean, check the ring and go to the dressing room.
Okay. The first thing that we want to do is we want to, when we get onto the site, we want to check check the ring. We want to check the tightness of the ropes, whether the floor is slippery. We want to make sure that the padding is in the right places, the turnbuckles are closed or covered, check for loose boards. We want to check the size of the ring, to make a mental note of how many steps we take to cross the ring. Make sure that the buckets and the stools are there, that there's stairs. We check to where the doctors are going to be seated, where the timekeepers are going to be seated, the commissions are going to be seated. That's it in a nutshell. In the dressing room, we go in and we talk to the boxers, and we want to check their equipment. We want to make sure that they have 2 mouthpieces. We want to check their groin protector, make sure that they have a good one. And then we want to review with them the rules, the way that we're going to referee. If there's a language barrier, that we make sure that they understand us through an interpreter. So in a nutshell, that's pretty much it, Victor.
Okay, just to give some action here, I know that Ed is going to explain a little of what is happening when you get into the ring and start the fight. Would you please tell us about that, Ed?
Yes, hi. Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here and participate in this. So basically, when I go into the ring, I like to just circle the ring personally and check my team. I'm looking for each judge in place. I'm looking for the timekeeper. I'm looking for the commission supervisor. I want to see that there's 2 doctors seated and ready to focus on the fight. And then as I go around, I also check to see that there are no impediments in the ring, on the floor. I want to make sure the padding is in place. The ring ties are in place. I like to have them evenly separated so it looks proper to have this side matching the other side of the ring. That's my personal opinion. And then I go to check each boxer. I check their mouth guard, their cup. I check their clothing to see that they have just trunks on, nothing on underneath. I look at their shoes. I look to see if their shoes are tied. I check their gloves. I look for the gloves to be attached on the thumb. That's very important. I looked at their taped correctly. In one situation, I had a fighter with skimmed gloves. I think we talked about that in our seminars. And that is where the trainers pull the glove so tight and tape it so that you can see the tape is halfway up the back of the hand. And that's because they pull it down and they crunch it in order to compress the padding, and then they tighten it here. So that's your first signal. You want to see the tape right no higher than the wrist. So I check that, talk to the fighters. I tried to stay out of the fighters' business as much as I could, just to make sure that they're dressed appropriately. And then I leave them alone. I know this is the start of a very big fight. And then once the fighters are announced, I enter the center of the ring. I'm looking for 1 cornerman to come with the fighter, no more than 1 cornerman. And we give them their instructions, the center ring instructions, and we ask them to touch gloves and to return to the corners in order to wait for the bell to commence the fight.
I had this question.
Yes.
Should the fighters touch their gloves or the referee? Because sometimes the referee take the gloves and make them touch. I don't like that. It should be the fighters should will. What do you think about that?
Well, there's pros and cons, like a lot of the things in refereeing. I prefer to grab their hand and make them touch. Or some fighters, if you don't do that, you say touch gloves, and they'll just walk away and they won't touch gloves. So do you want to escalate this incident or let it go? So a lot of times, to control the situation, especially if they don't like each other, if I grab the far hand, not the closest hand, but the far hand, and I lift and I bring their gloves together, I feel that's the safest for me, so they don't punch each other, and it's also makes them comply with my request.
If I may interrupt,
Yes.
this is a rule. Before the beginning of the first round and before the beginning of the 12th round, it is mandatory that the fighters touch gloves as a sign of sportsmanship. if you remember, Hector Macho Camacho lost his undefeated record with Hogan when he did not accept to touch gloves with Greg Hogan, and referee Carlos Padilla took a point away from him, and that led for Camacho to lose the fight and his undefeated record. But it's a good point. I think it's a very clear part of the code of ethics and sportsmanship in boxing.
I see. Great, thank you.
I want to say hello to Aliou Bali. He's watching us from Paris. Jose Mansur, Steve Morrow, Ricardo Montes de Argentina. Everybody's watching us. Okay, we have videos, some examples of some incidents that happened on the ring. Can we have the video, please? And then you can talk about it. You are in mute, Mauricio. We cannot hear you.
Yes, we took the audio out just to allow the concentration. This fight is in Japan. So let's see what happens here. Then he starts counting right there. So Victor, who would you like to go first?
I think I would like to hear Christian's opinion.
Yes. Hello, everyone, guys. Watching the video, I think that first of all, we have to, as a referee, we have to determine if the knockdown is because the fighter received a legal punch or a legal punch. I think we're right now in the video we saw that the fighter who went to the canvas, he received a right hand cross, and then he went to the ropes, and then he received another punch. It's kind of a punch that it appears that is like a rabbit punch. But regarding that point and regarding the referee, I think it's a rule that we can help the fighters to stand up and touch the fighters and try to help them to recover and be part of the retain or retake the actions. No, that's we can do that in any time. And the other thing is that the referee afterward, he tried to stand up the fighter, then he started counting. First of all, we have to determine if you saw a legal punch. Obviously, you have to make the procedure of a legal knockdown and do all the procedure that the rule says. And the other point is this: at some point, there's another thing of there's not a legal punch, so obviously you have to make the crisscross under the waist, so everybody can see us. It's not a knockdown, but any point, the first situation or the second situation, you can touch the fighter and try to help him to stand up.
Okay, anyone else wants to add something?
You know, Victor, I don't think that the referee knew for sure whether it was a slip or whether he got tossed down or whether he was knocked down. And but some of the things that need to be pointed out, since he was going to call it a knockdown, well, first of all, he never should touch the boxer.
Frank, you're absolutely right. I don't think the referee considered that a knockdown.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why he went down, he didn't start a count, and he started to picking him up. That's
Right.
you were going to say about.
So if the boxer did not want to get up, as Christian said, the referee could just call it off at that time. If the referee did want to pick up the count or start a count, he should have looked at the timekeeper, and the timekeeper should have been counting. And the timekeeper should be counting unless the referee gives the slip sign.
I think you, with all due respect, Frank, I think we should watch it again because the referee did not think it was a knockdown, and he was trying to get the fighter to get up. When the fighter falls down again, then he starts a count. This referee is a good referee, Yuji Fukuji from Japan.
Yeah.
He had a very bad night, and this is a great lesson for all the referees on what things should not do. If we see the replay, you're gonna see a good solid punch and then another solid punch in the back of the head. That's why the fighter was so...
Yeah, I saw that.
¿Podemos repetirla el video?
So I would say, Mauricio, the first problem was the referee's position.
Si le pueden adelantar a donde son los golpes y en cámara lenta vamos viendo. Yeah. Well, the referee's position, what do you think, Ed?
I think his position here is good. I think right now he needs to be on the side that we're on. So I think that...
We can go slow motion. Si podemos ir en cámara lenta con los dos golpes, sería muy bueno. Sorry.
To me, my first watching of this was a knockdown. He was aggressively moving forward, throwing a lot of punches, and then he got hurt by evidence of him immediately stopping and backing up to the ropes. That tells the referee that he's hurt. And when he got hurt, he went to grab his opponent, and that's when he fell to the ground. To me, that would have been a knockdown. The second point I have is in our referee mechanics that we go over in our charts, when a fighter goes down, a referee must do one of two things. Either call him down and begin the count, or he must, like Christian said, waive it as a no knockdown. Immediately, he must communicate to the crowd and to the world, to the commission, what he's calling that. In this situation, I didn't see any indication other than him not counting that it was a slip. So he skipped the one mechanic, which is crisscrossing his hands along his waist. But from my perspective, this was clearly a knockdown.
Okay, can we take that video out? I would like to see the next video, and I would like to hear some opinions about it. Gilbert, si podemos ir al siguiente video, por favor. I think this is the problem is that one mistake leads to another, and then you cannot really solve it. Here's another video.
What do you see, Hubert?
Well, obviously, the referee has no control. I believe he should have been in control much more. Should have put him in the corner. Should have waved him to the corner and be watching the down fighter. You know, refereeing is extremely difficult. And I think today's portion shows an example of how difficult it is to referee and how important it is to have experience, Mauricio. These are great examples.
Christian was mentioning a concept that referees must implement. It's the evaluation of the knockdown. The first thing the referee has to do, once there's a knockdown, evaluate what type of knockdown it is. Is it just a flash knockdown? Is it a knockdown where you can still see the fighter reaction, or the fighter simply goes down heavily? The referee immediate attention must be with the down fighter. Evaluate his condition, and then he can point out the fighter to the neutral corner and other things. The first evaluation has to be what the fighter condition is when he goes down.
Yes,
Yes,
we had the example of Nonito Donaire and Fernando Montiel. That was a quick, we don't have the video right now, but he jumps over Montiel and then he look at the other fighter to Donaire and he misses all the action with Montiel. That's an example.
You know-
Mauricio, we had in the Cancun seminar,
Podemos ir más adelante, directo al knockout. Es en el round 3, exacto.
Ed, were you trying to say something?
yes, so in the Cancun seminar that we had, we discussed this exact point. And what we said especially is that a referee needs to be able to recognize the 4 dangerous knockdowns. And that some referees, in an effort to expedite going to the referee mechanics by sending the other fighter to the neutral corner, they take their eye away from the fighter even before he hits the canvas. So when that happens, they're missing a dangerous knockdown. And in that particular knockdown, I would call it a dangerous knockdown because the fighter fell flat on his face without trying to break his fall with his hands. His hands are on his side. So that's what we define as one of the 4 dangerous knockdowns. And then the referee should watch the fighter until he hits the floor before they even think about the other fighter. And that's exactly what we talked about in Cancun and went over extensively. It's a very good point that Christian brought up. I agree with him. And you.
Right here, you
know-
can see he goes and his priority is to send them to the corner. And he could not see the reaction of Donaire. So it's very well exemplified. And this is a very good referee. And the idea of using examples is not in any way to criticize the action. Anything can happen. And that's why referees have to watch many actions because you cannot anticipate what's going to happen in the ring.
Mauricio, I don't know if you remember, but when we held our seminar in Las Vegas, Nevada, we had 300 judges and 175 referees, the best. And what we did was with the referees, we showed mistakes that famous referees did. We talked to them prior to that and told them, and they both, all of them said, please show it so that we can improve. And I think that's the beauty of the referees is they're open to listening and improving themselves.
Exactly, that's the spirit.
You know, Mauricio, if I might add something, being old school, my mentor had mentioned to me that you should know whether a boxer can continue or not, or really have a great big idea of whether he can or not continue by the time you reach the count of 8. And there's a good example in that Donaire fight. Again, being too concerned about sending the boxer to the neutral corner and losing your focus on the boxer when he goes down. It's very clear that fight could have been stopped at that time, or the fight could have easily have been stopped at the count of 8. But again, as Ed had mentioned and you have mentioned, it's very important to keep your focus on the boxer from the moment he goes down all the way to the point where whether you're either going to continue to count or you stop the fight.
Yeah, because finally, if the other fighter doesn't go to a neutral corner and he's really close, he's going to give the fighter that has been knocked down more time to recover, because you're going to send him back to the corner and then he's going to come again. We have some other video, some other example. Gilbert, please, the next video. Who wanna talk first?
Well, I think our good friend Rocky Burke missed the principles in the mechanics. Once you allow the fight to continue, you have to do so under your control. So he just lets her go and she's turning the back. I think he missed that, and he must not have evaluated properly the fighter who went down.
No, that's a very good point, Mauricio. And when you give the command to box, you need to position yourself so that you see both boxers, the boxer who was down and also the boxer coming out of the neutral corner. And I think it's happened to all of us. Well, the one thing that I focus on is the down boxer is he's capable of defending him or herself. And they may appear to be able to continue, but they don't make any effort to defend themselves. And the referee should step in and stop the fight before the other puncher throws or the other fighter throws a punch.
I have a comment. In that particular knockdown, I would say that's not a dangerous knockdown by the way she fell. She fell on her seat and she rolled back. Her head did not slam on the canvas, so it wasn't a dangerous knockdown. However, when she stood up, she was extremely unstable on her gait and her stance. And the one thing that would have concerned me the most is her hands never left her side when she was talking to the referee. And the referee had to reach over and reach her hands and lift them up. And then when he let go of her hands to have her fight again, her hands went right back down to where they were. And then only as an instinct did she see the other fighter coming at her that she raised her hand. So that's another point we covered in Cancun is when it's become intelligent defense to instinctual. And I think there, her instincts took over to raise her hands, but in my opinion, she was in no position to defend herself and continue that fight at that moment. And that Rocky saw that immediately and stopped it after. But I think my first indication was the way she stood up and the way her gait was unstable and she was unable to lift her hands up. To me, she's probably done at that point. That's my
This shows that you have to take a decision in 1 second. It's not really, it's not easy, but you have to do it that way. Ed, you have a presentation that you want to show us.
I think that, you know, we're kind of, do you have more videos? We could do that. I mean, the video that I have is real. Sure, let's do that. Okay. So let me preface it by this. So during a fight, my only point I want to make today is when the bell rings, anything can happen. And that's something that Jack Campbell told me in California many years ago. When the bell rings, anything can happen. And that made me think about some of the fights that I've had. And this happens to be one of them. I have a question for all the referees. You can make a comment or hit a like button. And I know the answer, but how many times have you shown up to a fight and then you had no idea who you were going to referee that night? I'm sure there's a lot of hands being raised. So it's very, very common. So this particular night, I knew I was going to do the main event, but I didn't know I was doing the first fight. This first fight was a little bit of an odd fight. Let's watch this quick presentation here. It's about 6 slides with a little video.
¿Podemos pasar a la siguiente lámina?
This was the experience page that Sochi asked for.
Next.
Do you want all the slides to go through, Ed?
Yeah, it was something that, yes, this one should be fine. We talked about this. You can go to the next one. We're almost done. It's quick.
Let's see it.
Next, please.
Oh, here's the fight. You have a 7-foot fighter, 300 pounds versus a 6'3" MMA fighter, 255 pounds. One fighter went down 7 times in 1.5 rounds. And it's a 16-foot ring.
Oh.
He's making his professional debut, although he's a four-time champion in kickboxing. The other fighter was an MMA fighter. You can understand what could happen in a scenario like this. All right, that's it. So basically, when the bell rings, anything can potentially happen. And in that particular fight, you have an MMA fighter. Usually MMA fighters are not skilled boxers. Their footwork, their balance is not great, which opens them up to being hit easily. You had a skilled stand-up fighter, and then you had a very sloppy fight with the fighter going down 4 times on his own through slips and pushes, and him being knocked down 3 times legally. So my only point there is that as a referee, you know, once the bell rings, you can think of a lot of scenarios, but we have to be prepared for anything that can possibly happen during that fight. And that's my point.
Thank you, Ed. Anyone else wants to add anything?
Victor?
Yes.
Hi, Victor. Yeah, I think today's show really, to me, displays how important experience is. Now, when we talked about, Frank talked about that fight, Frank didn't tell you also we had a fight down in Australia, and it was amazing. It had 45,000 people sitting around the ring. And in the first round, in the first few seconds, when Frank told them to break, the other fighter punched the guy out and knocked him out. There are 45,000 people there. I'm thinking, holy smokes, what's going to happen if Frank calls this off right now? But Frank, being experienced, used his judgment, set aside time. To me, it really showed how important it is for a experienced referee to be in the ring, for safety, for all of these type of things. Preparation, everything really counts. And people, I hope out there, if you want to learn more, take the course. This is what it's all about. Thank you.
I would like to ask, how much pressure can you take? How can you avoid the pressure of the promoter, of the crowd, of the hometown fighter? How do you handle that as a referee?
That's a good question, Victor. The way that I handle it is I treat every fight the same, whether it's a 4-round preliminary fight or a world championship fight. And I firmly believe that for the boxers, it's the most important fight of their career. For the 4-round fighter making his preliminary debut, that's the most important fight of his career at that time. Same thing goes for a world championship fight. So you cannot deviate the way that you prepare yourself, and you can't deviate the way that you go into the ring and handle the bout in any way. You have to handle them equally.
Anyone else?
I agree with you 100%, Frank. I think every fight is exactly the same. What I personally do during the day of the fight, other than rest and be calm, is that when I get into the ring, I make it a very important point to myself and promise myself that when I walk in the ring, that I am, you know, relaxed and very, very calm. I perform my best when I'm relaxed, not when I'm tense. And that's my #1 goal when I go in the ring, is to be relaxed and calm, and any outside influences don't impact me at that moment, to allow me to fully concentrate in the fight. That's what I try to do.
Yeah, well, adding to the, I don't have it, we have time to do something. Adding to the things that Edward and Frank are saying regarding the concentration, the things I do when I get notified that I've been appointed for a fight. In that moment starts the time lapse of being concentrate. I mean, the things I do is I review the videos, that because if you review the videos of the fight, can you have more security about the styles and everything. And obviously you have to be very concentrated. Sometimes I do meditation as well, and to try to be very, very relaxed, and obviously try to take control in the instructions. And this is a whole process between the moment you be notified of being a fight. And obviously sometimes we do just the regular fights, like the 4 rounds, 6 rounds, and sometimes we don't know how who is going to be in the ring with you. So you just try to get recaptured, to try to study again the regulations, be prepared, and it's very important I do meditation, and I do some exercises before the fight and during the week of the fight, so you can be able to be 100% in your mind and your body. And I think it's very important to be calm, so you can be able to get on the flow up in the ring.
Yes. Good points.
Lenko
Victor, I'd like to
Visito
ask,
says, I don't have any idea of which fight I'm going to work until I'm in the venue. That's something that he said. Stephen Blair, you need to take care of the hurt boxer first and foremost. I want to say hi to Antonio Ramalho from Portugal also. They're watching us in Belgium, so you're getting everywhere.
Victor, can I ask Christian and Ed a question?
Please go ahead.
For me, the most important part of the preparation and doing the fight is the dressing room instructions. That's the most important time for me. And I'd like to hear what Ed and Christian have to say about that.
Edward, please.
Okay, thank you. The dressing room instructions to me are really where the control starts. I get to evaluate the boxer. I get to speak with them. I get to look at their eyes. I get to speak to the coach. I can see what type of cooperation I get. I've had some very memorable discussions. I've had some discussions that, I've gotten no eye contact. So really my main focus in the dressing room instructions is to emphasize that the rules that I'm going to conduct the bout in a certain manner. Here's how I'm going to conduct the bout, and here's what you can expect from me, and here's what I expect from you. I want to have a clear communication at that point. I also explain to them why I'm going to stop a fight and when I will stop a fight. So it's very clear. If they have any questions, they can talk to me about that. But my main point is the conduct of the fight. That's when I explain how I'm going to control the fight and how I want them to react. And that, to me, is the most important goal that I am trying to get in my dressing room instructions. And it carries forward in the ring so well over the years. It's been phenomenal for me in handling my fights. Christian?
Yes. Well, yeah, obviously, I mean, that's the moment when, if you want to take control of the actions in the ring, during the actions, during the fight, the first opportunity that you have to take control is in the dressing rooms. So you have to be very clear. You have to be very secure in yourself. Talk to the fighters very straight to the eyes. Not like that you are not that you are. You have to demonstrate that you are that you're going to take control of the actions and in response of them, the actions of the fighters, that it has to be very obviously. They have to conduct themselves in a very sportsmanlike and follow the rules, and demonstrate that you respect them as fighters, but obviously they have to respect you as a referee or commission or like an official ring. So that's the first moment, the opportunity that you have to take control of the actions in the dressing rooms.
That would be my next question. I mean, you have to make clear to the fighter that you are there to protect him. But should a referee be friendly? Should a referee be strong? what is the best?
Well, Victor, that's a very good question. And I think you do not want to be their friend. You want to be their referee. And the one thing that you want to get across is that you're fair, that you're going to treat both of them equally. And you don't want to come in as a hard authoritarian figure, because most boxers will shut their ears off. If you come in and you say, this is how it's going to be, you're going to do this, you're going to do that, they automatically close their ears. It's human nature. So you have to come in and you have to present yourself as someone who's fair, someone who knows the rules, someone who understands the rules, and has explained how you're going to enforce the rules. And I think it's very important for any of the young referees that are out there listening, that whatever you tell a boxer in the dressing room, within the first minute of the opening round, they're going to test you. And you better react the way that you said that you were going to in the dressing room. For instance, if you tell the guy, I gave you a hard warning for this, and if you do it in the ring, I'm going to take a point away, and he does it right away, and you don't take a point away, as you had said, then that boxer knows that everything that you told him in the dressing room doesn't hold water.
Thank you, Frank. Stephen Blair, I relaxed by saying a prayer to protect the boxers and myself. Ian Stanley Watson, thank you for the invite and for the insight. Demetrius Payton, as a combat sport fan, I'm getting a good education here on the mechanics of the referee and the preparation that goes into conducting a fight in any level. Thank you very much. We have one more video that I want to play. Please roll it. You're in mute, Mauricio.
I guess it's a question whether it was a knockdown or slip or tangling of the feet. So,
Yeah,
Hubert,
because he gets punched when his foot is wrapped. Oof.
Oh, yeah.
my opinion, this image, the referee sees the punch, and 99% the referee is going to call it a knockout. If we see at their foot, it was clearly that they got tangled, and that was part of the reason that why he went down. But most referees will call it a knockdown. My opinion.
I have a comment. I had a similar fight, similar to this situation, Javier Fortuna versus Sharif Boguere. But in this situation, from the position of the referee, I could see that he could see the blow. So you have a legal blow followed by a foul, a trip. Sometimes it could be a push, it could be something else. So what takes precedence, the blow or the foul? And I think in my situation was a little clearer because the punch that landed in the fight that I did was a clear, hard punch. So I thought the fighter was hurt, even though he got tripped after. I called it a knockdown. When I discussed this with my mentor after, we had a really good discussion about this. And his position was that once the fighter goes down, give it 2 seconds and see his reaction. In this situation, the fighter stood up right away, and that tells you if the punch wasn't damaging enough to knock him down. It probably was the trip. It probably should have been called a slip. And in my fight, it was similar. The fighter stood up and he wasn't damaged. So if you give it 1 or 2 seconds more, because my concern was I call it a slip and the fighter can't get up. then what do you have, right? So I was trying to prevent that situation, and I can answer that question better if I just give it another 1 or 2 seconds, look at the fighter down, look at his reaction, and then make my decision.
This shows how quick you have to make a decision, because if you're not rushing your decision, you have 2 more seconds.
2 seconds. You know, it's like 51%, 49%, you know, either
Yes.
way. So if you give yourself a couple of seconds, I think it becomes a little clearer. That's what I walked away from that.
Victor, also, this was kind of similar to Kenny Bayless when it happened with Pacquiao and Marquez when he stepped on the foot. And I asked Kenny afterwards, if we could have instant replay and fix it right then and there and get it right, would you rather have that? He said, of course we do, Hugh. No referee wants to make a mistake in the ring. And that's why I believe this instant replay has to be instituted.
Mauricio?
Yes, instant replay is a reality. There's many jurisdictions that accept it. Some jurisdictions still do not accept it, which is a problem. Boxing is behind technology, terribly. We have tried to keep as much as possible in the technology world. We have used instant replay in many countries with great success. Also, we have a new program in which to have communication with the referee through the supervisor, the commission, with the referee, and some devices for the judges, which is basically noise canceling with a camera that will change absolutely the scope of how boxing is seen. But this is something to be developed. The problem in boxing, there's so much resistance to innovations. In order to change something, it is the absolute resistance from the traditionalists that don't like to see changes, from boxing jurisdictions that do not allow to implement or to try changes. But we're coming along, and I believe instant replay is great for the sport. It has been used, and it has prevented injustices to happen, and we just have to continue working on that.
Well, time flies, and we have a little bit more than an hour talking. I would like to keep 2 or 3 more hours here with you, but we have to close this. My last question would be, many times referee rushes to raise the winner's hand. How do you wrap the fight? How should be this done?
I'm not sure I understand your question, Victor. Can you say that again,
Many
please?
times there is a knockout and the referee doesn't know where to be with the knocked out fighter or with the winner. Sometimes he rushes to this fighter and then rush to raise the hand of the winner and go back. How is the mechanic for that?
Well, are you talking about when a fight is stopped and you're
Yes.
going to announce the winner? Yes. The most important thing is to make sure the safety of the boxer. And before I raise the hand or declare, a winner, I declare that the fight is over. I'll wave my hands and declare the fight is over. And now again, the most important thing in my mind is the safety of the boxer that is down or was stopped. And I want to make sure that I call the ring physician in. I keep the area clear. If we need a stool, have the corner people bring in the stool. But I want whatever that boxer, whatever type of medical or emergency attention that he needs or she needs, that they get it at that time. And again, step back, compose yourself, get everything in order, because there's plenty of time to raise the hand of the winner. What do you think, Christian?
Yeah, the first thing we have to put on the list is the integrity of the fighters and the safety of the fighters. I mean, in any case, if the fighter goes down to the canvas, obviously the first thing we have to do is take care of the fighter who is in the canvas, and it's going to be plenty of time to show to the world that who is winning the fight. I mean, it's the first thing is like a religion for us as referees. The integrity of the fighters is first.
Yes, I agree as well. I mean, number one thing is stay with the fighter. I've seen referees walk away from a fighter and the doctor's not there. So number one rule is stay with the fighter, wait till the doctor comes, keep everybody away like Frank said. And then when the doctor says it's okay to have the corners come and the fighter's okay, that's the point that the referee is relieved and can go collect the scorecards and report back to the commission table about their final call. I think that's the appropriate way to do it.
You know, Victor, I watched that a lot, especially after knockdowns. I want to see what the referee is doing because of our training, because we tell them you stay there until the seconds come in. But you know, when I go international and I watch some of these inexperienced guys, it seems like they want to rush and hold a champion's hand before anything else and get a picture taken, and that's really sad because again, you know, their responsibility is the safety of the fighter.
That is absolutely the dynamics, the mechanics that the referee has to have. The only thing that matters is the safety. Any referee, any judge who is in boxing for the television, for the cameras, for the social media, or for the fees that they get for acting in that event should not be considered as the referee or the judge to work a fight. They have to be for the love of the sport. They have to be for the safety and the justice of the sport.
Well, I think we have to wrap up this discussion. I just want to read some comments. JP Galley, thank you for the pearls of wisdom. Great discussion. Steve St. German, thank you. Extremely good. Keep up the good work. Bill Clancy, instant replay is in every sport, but not here in the US. It needs to happen. It's the right thing for our sports and the boxers. Jürgen Langos, good job good job, gentlemen. Thanks for sharing all the way from Germany. Well, we need to wrap up, so I will go first with Frank.
I just want to say this was a great opportunity. Great, Mauricio, this is a great use of new technology, a very innovative move on your part. And I hope that everybody that tuned in enjoyed it. And I really enjoyed it, and I'd like to see it happen again.
Okay, thank you, Frank. Now, Ed Colantes.
Yes, I'd like to say also, Victor, excellent job moderating this live stream. Mauricio, thank you. This is a fantastic idea. I think it's great time for us to review, discuss, and communicate with each other. And thank you very much for allowing me to be part of this. I appreciate it.
Christian Curiel.
So thank you to all you guys, Mauricio, Victor, Hubbard, Frank, Edward. It's good to see you. Be safe. Take care of you guys and your families. And I hope to see you soon, guys.
I want to read Corey Santos. Great points being made. I am learning a lot. Thank you.
Good.
Hubert Min, please.
Yeah, I want to thank Mauricio and the staff, but I also want to thank Gabby and Gilbert for putting on all the technology, as well as Victor doing a great job. I hope if people like this, they'll take the course, because we put a lot of time in the course. These are things that happen as a referee and an official. We love the WBC Ohana family. We say hello to all of you. This is a great event. Mahalo.
Well, I think we have an on. Christian, please.
Again?
Oh, yeah, no, I'm sorry. I just, I was reading here and then I made some mistakes, but Mauricio, please.
Okay, we have come to the end of the WBC Talks, number 3, round 3. I'd like to thank all these ring officials from all over the world for your time, your participation, and to thank everyone who tuned in. This is an effort to keep us moving forward, to keep us communicated, to keep us positive. We're going through a difficult time in humanity, but we're going to defeat this coward virus. I say coward because it is going against the elderly, the old people, the people who are sick and cannot defend themselves. So let's fight this virus. How we can do that? Stay home, stay safe, keep your family safe, obey the directions that your community leaders give you, and we will move forward. There are great positive news coming out also. China is free of no more contaminations. So we have to understand that we have to collaborate. Don't think too much ahead. If you think about months or years, you're only going to get very much concern and anguish. Think about blocks of 10 days, 15 days, move on, keep doing what you do at home, work, keep your mental health, keep exercising, and keep eating healthy. Tomorrow we have a great panel. Victor, you want to tell us about tomorrow's panel?
Yes, we're going to have trainers, and it's going to be very interesting. We have Ismael Salas, Robert Garcia, Joe Gallagher. There's going to be Jesse Vargas as a champion also. It's going to be very interesting tomorrow, as you said, Mauricio, round number 4. It's going to be at 1 p.m. Mexico's time. So I want to thank everybody. I just want to show you, I have a little toy here. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, 11 a.m. Mexico City time in Spanish, and then 1 p.m. for English. We have the two versions.
I just want to show our referees something that I need a referee for this fight. If they can help me, I have this, and I don't know if they can get headbutted, or you can help me and call the action.
We're going to see it again.
Thank you very much, everybody. It was amazing job. Thanks.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you, Victor.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Hubert. God
Hey,
bless. Great seeing you. Okay.
yeah, we'll see you.